Your Majesties, Excellencies, fellow laureates, members of the Princess of Asturias Foundation, ladies, gentlemen, fellow citizens of the one and only ocean planet, Earth. As a child, I learned about Spanish explorers so famous that they are often referred to by their just one name: Cortés, Pizarro, Balboa, Coronado, Elcano. These explorers and conquistadors, all male, were pioneers of their time, the first Europeans to see the South American continent, the first to touch the Pacific Ocean. Ferdinand Magellan was born in Portugal, but it was the Spanish king, Charles V, who agreed to support his vision of finding a route to the wealth of Asia. He set sail in 1519. None of the 5 ships in his fleet made it to their hoped-for destination, and only one made it back to Spain 3 years after they departed. But those aboard succeeded in achieving the first circumnavigation of the world. That voyage took place during what is called the Great Era of Exploration. 5 centuries ago, it was widely thought and widely taught that the Earth is the center of the universe. Some still believe that the universe revolves around us, or perhaps just around them personally. And there's still a widespread belief that the greatest era of exploration happened long ago. Today's children know the truth. The greatest era of exploration is just beginning. Most of the ocean has never been seen, let alone explored. The deeper in the sea we go, the less we know, but the more new discoveries we find. Now we know that the ocean drives climate and weather, shapes planetary chemistry, and provides home for most of life on Earth. With every breath we take, every drop of water we drink, all of us are connected to the sea. Even those who have never seen or touched the ocean are touched by the ocean. No ocean, no life. No blue, no green. When I was a child, no one had been to the moon or to the deepest parts of the ocean. Women as scientists, engineers, captains of ships, pilots of aircraft, leaders of companies or countries were rare. Some told me that as a woman, I should not aspire to be a scientist or an explorer. But there's a difference between should not and could not. So I became a scientist and an explorer anyway. In the middle of the 20th century, computers, cell phones, plastics, and the internet did not exist. At the time, it seemed the ocean was too vast, too resilient to be harmed by anything that humans could do. As recently as the 1960s, taking wildlife from the sea was widely regarded as a solution to how we could feed the growing population of people. Putting trash and other wastes into the ocean seemed like a good idea at the time. Whatever we put there, we thought would simply go away. But now we know what we're putting into the sea: millions of tons of garbage, throwaway plastics, toxic chemicals, excess fertilizers and pesticides, is changing the chemistry of the sea. Technologies developed for waging war on one another have been adapted to effectively wage war on the ocean. Sonar, satellites, global positioning, new materials for lines and nets are now applied to capture ocean wildlife on an unprecedented scale. Today, fish have no place to hide, even in the high seas, the deep seas, in polar seas. What we're taking out, millions of tons of wildlife, has caused about a 90% reduction of many of the species of fish, including cod, tuna, sharks, as well as many of the small squid and silvery fish that larger animals rely on for sustenance. Their decline breaks ancient nutrient systems affecting oxygen production and carbon capture, undermining processes that have taken hundreds of millions of years to develop, but only a few decades to unravel. In half a century, about half the coral reefs have disappeared, along with mangroves, marshes, and seagrass meadows, the vast pastures of ocean plankton that produce more than half of the oxygen in the atmosphere are in decline. The ocean is in trouble, and therefore, so are we. Well, that's the bad news. But the good news is that for the first time in history, we can observe, calculate, measure, and see evidence of not only how we are harming the earth, but also what can be done to heal the harm and make peace with nature, a fundamental key to making peace among ourselves. This is the sweet spot in time. Now, as never before, we can measure the decline of polar ice and correlate that with carbon dioxide emission, the destruction of forests, the decline of the pastures of plankton and the blue carbon sequestering creatures that we refer to as tuna and whales and krill. Now, as never again, we know that by protecting large areas of the land as parks and natural reserves, we're protecting ourselves. Blue parks, ocean reserves, hope spots are urgently needed to reverse the alarming decline. Actions taken in the next few years will determine our future for the next 10,000 years. Never before could we know what is now known about our absolute dependence on the natural world for making our existence possible. Never again will there be a better opportunity to take action while there's still time. 50 years ago, astronaut William Anders took what may be the most important photograph ever. And that was during the Apollo 8 mission, when he and his fellow astronauts circumnavigated the moon. That image, Earthrise, the view of our blue planet appearing like a living jewel against an extremely hostile universe of stars, moons, and comets, shocked humankind into a new sense of awareness about how beautiful this planet is and how vulnerable we are. 50 years from now, today's children may look back and say, "Why did you not do something while there was still time?" Or they may say, "Thank you for the wisdom to protect the earth when there is still a chance to do so." I'm grateful to you, Your Majesties, for continuing in that long ago tradition of fostering exploration of what humans can do, not only across the unknown ocean, but across the frontiers of art and literature, communication and science, with examples represented here among my fellow laureates. Knowledge is the key to our continued prosperity, to our continued existence. With knowing comes caring, and with caring, there's hope that we can, we will, we must make peace with nature and find an enduring place for ourselves within the mostly blue systems that sustain us. Thank you.